have a lot of lived experience navigating academia, navigating the private practice world, like being a high achieving woman and like accomplishing these things. But I also have the lived experience of the challenge of my anxiety holding me back. I've had anxiety ever since I was didn't even know what to call it. I was a child. And for so long, it really held me back. And I had to really go through this piece of like, how can I let it push me for success and not overtake me and hold me back from doing these things that I want to do, open up a practice, leave a job that's no longer serving me, and, do find my passions and let myself just take a risk.
Mhm.
Problems may have us, but they sure can't stop us. We're doing the work, we're putting the time, changing one life at a time. This is the This Therapist Has Problems podcast show.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back into my office. I am Natasha, and welcome to the This Therapist Has Problems podcast. I'm so happy that you are here with us today. For this month of August, we are going to be focusing on the topic of self-care, self-awareness, and self-awareness. Why is that so important? Why is it essential to our overall well-being? Today, we have another guest with us, and I'm so happy to have Lauren with us today. Lauren, welcome into my office. Welcome to this Therapist Has Problems podcast. Give us a little bit about who you are, a little bit about your professional background, and what you specialize in.
Absolutely. So I am Dr. Lauren Chase. I am a clinical mental health counselor. I own my own private practice called Climbing Hills Counseling. I see high achieving women in North Carolina, South Carolina, Vermont, Idaho, and Florida. And as well as I am also a counselor educator. I've been doing therapy for about 10 years now, about a decade, very close to it. And I'm a former child therapist. So I did child therapy for many, many years. Pandemic happened, got a little burnt out on working with kiddos. And I made the switch to working with high achieving women and moms
Okay.
recently, in the past 4 or 5 years.
Okay. Tell me for you what made that pivot important to you? Why that specific population?
Yeah. So for me, it was very personal. I was like, who is the best client for me is myself. And as a high achieving, overachieving woman, I graduated. I got my PhD before I turned 30. I think I was 28 years
Hey.
old. Getting my PhD and kind of going into the world, I noticed the lack of like understanding and support for I want to have both my ambition because that's important. I value that, but I also need somebody to challenge me and push me and say, hey, Lauren, you need to take care of yourself. What is your limits and boundaries with your achievement so that you can have a balance? So that's really how I came to like have my ideal client population is like I saw myself in that. And I was like, I want to be that support that I needed when I was that 25, 26, 27-year old trying to navigate a PhD and a pandemic all at the same time.
One, you're a trooper because navigating through the pandemic, especially as a helper, as a clinician, was not easy.
Mm-hmm.
So the knowing that you
Yeah.
were also in your PhD program, definitely a lot to carry. But I think you said something super important. Those of us, because I feel the same way, those high achievers are always striving for the next thing. It's often difficult to
Mm-hmm.
recognize when it's essential to take a pause and really make sure you are taking care of yourself. For you, what did that journey look like of learning what taking care of yourself even looked like?
Yeah, I didn't do a great job at it. I'll be honest with you. I graduated in 2021. It was a weird time in the job market. So I was balancing multiple roles. I was a visiting professor. I was doing adjunct work. I was working at a group private practice. And I wasn't truly loving or feeling excited about anything that I was doing at that time. And I felt very scattered and pulled. I always describe it as like I had sticky arms. And I just felt like I had a bazillion little sticky arms and it was being pulled in so many different directions. And I just didn't feel focused or intentional or that I had the time and the energy to put into something that I felt super excited at the end of the day about.
So in that saying, yes, there was a lot of things pulling at you all
Mhm.
at once. Did you hit a brick wall? Did you crash? When did you recognize, okay, I need to refocus some energy towards pouring toward myself?
Yeah, yeah. So I think I reached a point where I was like, it was a lot of peace for me opening up my private practice was like, I was like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, I can't do that. Why? I don't know. I always just was telling myself I couldn't do it, and then I finally was sitting here and I was like, "I got a PhD during a pandemic. I can open up a virtual private practice and make it be successful." And I just finally kind of hit me of like, I need to stop being scared and I need to stop being afraid of failure because if I never start it, I have no chance of being successful.
I find that so interesting, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. You're a high achiever, you're
Mhm.
accomplishing really great things, but you also
Yeah.
have this internal fear that you won't be successful. And it's like
Yeah.
two opposite ends of the spectrum. And it's like,
Yeah.
where exactly does this internal fear come from? Because you're doing the things, right? You're checking the
Mhm.
boxes, you're getting the degrees, but it's saying when it's
Yeah.
time to bet on yourself, that fear starts to set in. For
Yeah.
you, tell me a little bit about passion to say, okay, you
Mhm.
obviously have your own lived experience. How do you bring that into the office with you as you're working with your clients?
Yeah. So I think who we are personally is so important to us as clinicians. Like, I am a high achieving woman who has achieved a lot by my now 33 years old. Going from bachelor's, master's, PhD back to back. I have a lot of lived experience navigating academia, navigating the private practice world, like being a high achieving woman and like accomplishing these things. But I also have the lived experience of the challenge of my anxiety holding me back. I've had anxiety ever since I was didn't even know what to call it. I was a child, and for so long it really held me back. And I had to really go through this piece of like, how can I let it push me for success and not overtake me and hold me back from doing these things that I want to do? Open up a practice, leave a job that's no longer serving me, and do find my passions and let myself just take a risk.
Mhm. And it's not easy betting on yourself. It's not
Hmm.
easy taking that leap. But I think you said something important. When you recognize you're doing something new, you're going to feel afraid.
Hmm.
You're going to have anxiety, but challenging yourself to push through it and do it anyway to show
Yeah.
yourself that you're capable.
Definitely, definitely. The most fulfilling moments of, like, these moments in practice, whether it's, like, with a client saying, "Hey, this really helped me. Oh, this was a breakthrough session." Like, those moments feel so special because I'm like, I'm working with my favorite client population, doing the things I love to do, and I'm feeling fulfilled, and I can do that, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to do that.
Yeah. Tell me for you, let's talk about what is self care? What does that
Mhm.
mean?
So for me, self-care is this intentional focus on you. It's not just bubble baths and chocolate and that, it's taking a walk outside in the middle of the day because you want to listen to your favorite audiobook or podcast. It's walking on your walking pad, binge watching your favorite show because you want to do it. It's this intentional taking care of you that is for yourself. And it doesn't always look like the bubble baths and the, pretty things, but sometimes it's just that focus on what do I need now in this moment and responding to that. I think there's this piece where we lose the sense of like responsiveness to ourselves and what we want and need as people. And for me, I'm like, I tell my clients, I'm like, it doesn't have to be big and extravagant. It's always like, "Oh, go get a massage." Yes, that's great, but in that moment, it might not be a massage. It might be going to get some boba tea or going to get some Starbucks, or it might be sitting in your car for 10 minutes and having some peace and quiet without any noise in the background or taking a drive.
And I think what's really critical about self care, and I think this is something that people often miss, is you don't have to earn self care, right? To say,
Yeah.
"Well, if I do all these things and check all these boxes, then I can do this special thing
Mhm.
for myself." Self care
Yeah.
is essential. You have to
Mhm.
prioritize taking care of yourself. I know being a clinician, I'm sure you can relate, we typically pour out ourselves to everyone else throughout our day.
Mhm.
And a lot of times, especially if you're a parent, you're working, you got
Yeah.
family, a spouse, you're constantly giving yourself away. So it's
Mhm.
saying at some point, you also have to be on your agenda. You also have
Yeah.
to be a priority because if you're continuing to pour out, you're not going to have anything left. So saying, what
Yeah.
does that look like to truly replenish yourself? And you get to decide what that looks like. To say
Yeah.
for some people, it's like, I love going out and I'm going to take a trip, but that's not everyone's immediate act.
Mhm.
So it's saying, like you said, I love sitting in my car. And I'm just like, I'm going to sit here where it's quiet and I'm just going to let myself breathe. So you have to determine what that replenishing moment looks like for you.
Yeah. And I always say to clients, like, where are you the happiest? And I
Mhm.
ask them this simple question, where do you feel the most joy? And go with that. Like, really, I think we don't ask ourselves that enough. We're so busy working and hustling and going and doing. I'm like,
Mhm.
where do you feel the happiest and the most fulfilled?
I love that question. I think you're right. It's a question that people don't often ask themselves. They're saying, what
Hmm.
makes you happy? And it's like, huh? I don't know, but I think that's a good point if you're listening to this, right? Taking a moment and truly asking yourself that question and reflecting to say, what is something that makes you feel joy, that makes you feel peace, relaxed, right? That's the
Hmm.
feeling that you're truly needing.
Yeah. Yeah. We never really slow down and take that moment and really ask ourselves because, we're always filled with work, or maybe we're caring for our children or caring for our parents. And we're always doing these things out of obligation rather than what are things that we're wanting to do just for ourselves.
I love that. Tell me for you, do you have a process, a system, your method of teaching individuals how to be comfortable with practicing self care?
Yeah. So I think the first thing I usually like to dig in with folks is like, what was your family of origin like engaging in self care? Like, what did you see growing up? Because I believe it's all from our childhood, right? And it's all from what we saw growing up. Like, we mimic our family of origin so much that we don't even realize, and we repeat those patterns. So usually the first thing I'll ask folks is like, what did that look like growing up for you? What did you see your parents do or your family members do? Because oftentimes I'll see that mentality of work, 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 work ourselves in the ground. You have to earn rest, et cetera, um, in their family of origin. And I'm like, okay, well, how did that work out for them? And kind of how do we break that pattern and do something differently?
And I think you're right. A lot of times people don't necessarily have that blueprint to follow.
Hmm.
And understanding a lot of times you have to take that path for yourself. And it comes
Hmm.
with educating yourself, going to
Hmm.
therapy, seeking support to help you see things from a different perspective.
Yeah. Then kind of after that, the next step I'll usually do is there's a self-care assessment. I'll send that to you that I usually
Mhm.
send folks that I found online. It has different areas of self-care and you can kind of rate yourself on, is this something I do often? Is it not? And so I'm a big fan of like numbers, and I'm
Mhm.
like, we need to quantify it for ourselves. And so I'll have clients fill that out, and then they'll kind of add up and see where they're highest and where they're lowest.
Mhm.
And then it gives you a great section at the end with a goal, a strategy to achieve the goal, and a timeline where you create for yourself in these different areas. Because I think if we don't have concrete goals for ourselves, we're not gonna. It's just big. I describe it as like a cornfield. Like, you have those during the fall time. You got the cornfield. You're
Mhm.
just kind of like roaming around the cornfield, and you don't
Mhm.
really know where you're going. There's
Mhm.
not a set path,
Yeah.
and you got to put yourself on a path of knowing where your destination is and how you're going to get there.
Okay. A goal without a plan is just an idea. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
what are we doing? So I think it's good to say,
yeah,
okay, I love that assessment. If you're able to send it to me, I'll be sure to share that.
absolutely.
I think that's great to help people dig a little deeper, to understand more about what it looks like specifically for them. And I know
Hmm.
people, it's like, let me see the data. So that's really,
Yeah.
tell me, I'm curious, based on your experience, what do you feel people often misunderstand about what self-care means?
They feel like it's selfish. They feel guilty for doing it. It's a lot of this piece of self means selfish because a lot of times when they come from collectivistic cultures or they're in a role such as being a mother, there's so much of this pressure to give up all of your identity for your children or your partner or your parents. And it's this piece of that it's selfish, but we can also at the same time honor your collectivistic culture and honor all of these things while still taking care of yourself. And how do you need to, using CBT, like how do we need to reframe it for yourself of like,
Mhm.
you're going to be a better mom to your children if you take that 20-minute walk by yourself with some peace and quiet rather than, spend that 20 minutes with them getting overstimulated and overwhelmed.
I think that is such a good point that people struggle with, to say,
Hmm.
if I pull myself away, I'm not taking care of things that I'm responsible for.
Mhm.
I'm being selfish. That is such a big thing that I hear all the time. And
Yep.
it's like you have to equip yourself to show up as healthy
Mhm.
as possible. In order to do that, you have to pour into yourself, which means giving yourself a breather, taking some time away. One thing I always tell my clients is the best gift that you can give your kids is to show them that you're human.
Mhm.
And showing
Yeah.
them what it looks like to take care of so going back to what you were saying about family of origin, to say now you're the person
Yeah.
setting the tone of what self-care looks like, what prioritizing your
Mhm.
like. So it's essential in helping your kids, helping people around you to understand
Yeah.
it's essential. It's a part of day-to-day life.
And so they don't repeat that pattern and come in again because those are the clients that I'm often getting that are coming to me of like, I don't even know what self-care is. I never saw it growing up. What does this mean? But it's when you see it observed and modeled for you of,
Mhm,
hey, I need to take 5 minutes and do what I need to do, or I need to go take this walk to take care of myself.
mhm,
Therefore, you're breaking those family patterns and making those that bigger level difference for your own children if you choose
mhm.
them.
Yeah. I also want to point out something you said as well, as far as sticking and staying and then resulting in you being overstimulated. Right. A lot of
Mhm.
times it's like, I don't want to take a step away from the kids.
Mhm.
I want to take a break from this. But by not doing that, you can see immediate consequences to say,
Yeah.
I didn't respond the way I feel like I should have. Oh, I shouldn't have yelled. I shouldn't have gotten irritated or angry. So it's saying giving yourself the ability to course correct before
Mhm.
you do something and now you're looking back with regret. To say taking that 5
Yeah.
minutes, right? You're not doing heart surgery, brain surgery. It is
Mhm.
okay. You can take a breather and know that again, you can show up as healthy as possible.
Yeah, and back when I was working with parents and I was working with kids a lot, this is what I would say to parents, it's not about what you said. It's what you said after you said what you said. And, yes, you can't take back those words, but you also can repair, and
Mhm,
that's possible.
mhm. I love that. Tell me as you, because you've gotten some distance, right, from that PhD period, the
Mhm.
pandemic, there was a lot going on. As you've grown in your career, as you really honed in on this specialty, what does your individual self-care look like outside of work?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. I think for me personally, I struggled a lot with my identity outside of being a counselor educator and being a counselor because it's still personal, right? We bring who we are to our counseling, our business. And I finally stepped back and I was like, who's Lauren? Like, what does Lauren like to do? And I struggled with that because I was always busy with grad school, with master's, bachelor's, bachelor's, master's, PhD. Like, I was always absorbed in school. I didn't have time to have hobbies. I walked as a hobby. I really enjoy walking and hiking. That's a passion of mine. I also love audiobooks. I've become an audiobook nut. If I'm not in session with a client or doing work, I'm listening to an audiobook. And I'm not listening to anything psychology related. I'm not listening to anything counseling related. I'm listening to, whatever it may be, like that I feel like listening to at the moment and absorbing myself in a story. It's something I really have enjoyed. Also podcasts have been super huge in my self-care of like it could be therapy related. I do tend to do more therapy related. I also love learning about personal finance.
Mm,
So I've been like listening to some personal finance podcasts to like really allow myself to both, yeah, it's productive, but like step out of my counselor identity and like learn about things that are different than just counseling.
yeah. You hit the nail on the head right there. To say that a lot of times you have to step outside of the hats that you wear.
Mhm.
I had to make a declaration to myself. I'm like, Natasha, no more education books. Give yourself a break. Like,
Yes.
you can
Yes.
read for fun. Like, it's okay.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, it felt like for me personally, I was
Mhm.
always working. It's
Yeah.
like I'm doing therapy, I'm working with clients, and then outside of therapy, and it's not, we need to get our continued education.
Mhm.
We need to educate
Yeah.
ourselves, but we also need to give ourselves a break to just
Mhm.
say, you know what? I want to listen. I have been like into court and law podcasts. I'm just like
Oh,
all the court cases.
fun.
So I'm just like, you can let yourself just have fun when
Mhm.
you feel like you're always on. And I think that's so important for people. So I think because we have this hustle culture, it's like
Yeah.
you work your full-time job, you do your kind of after work
Mhm.
responsibilities, and then it's like, I need to work on my business. I need to work on my business. I need to
Yeah.
read and and it's just like, it's okay to give yourself some downtime and give yourself
Yeah.
a break.
Oh, absolutely. And there's also this piece of having a private practice, right? There's always something to do for it. There's no matter what, you're never done. It's never complete. And I tell this to my clients all the time, whatever they end up doing. Like at the end of the day, there's never really a point where we're like, it's in a neat little box and it's done. Parenting is never done. Whatever job you have, oftentimes there's always something more that you can do. There's another clinical training you can do. There's another tweak you can make on your website you can do.
Mm.
Sure. But at the end of the day, is that really going to make a big difference in your world versus not?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's something that we can all kind of take a pause and assess. And
Hmm.
I think that goes back to that high achieving, right?
Yeah,
Some perfectionism in there, right? To say, okay, I have to just do a little bit more. If I can just do a little bit more,
absolutely.
but there will always be more to do.
Hmm.
Yeah. Tell me for you, what do you wish people understood more or even talked about more openly when it comes to mental health, self care?
Hmm. I think the taboo of going to a therapist is still there. I think we do talk about it more, it's more visible, but there's still this piece of taboo, whether that's among certain cultures or that's just ingrained in society now. Like there is this piece of shame of like, I can't admit that anything's wrong with me. So I need to hold it all inside until I explode. So I think that piece of like, obviously, therapy doesn't make you weak, it makes you strong, and that you recognize that there's a problem that you need support with. So I see that a lot with folks of like whether they're trying to get their partner to come to therapy or they took so long to get to therapy, the shame, the internalized shame of something is wrong with me because I need therapy. And it's like, no, maybe you just want to learn more about yourself. Maybe you just want to, pick up some more insight. Maybe you just want a space to word vomit that you don't have to tell your friends, that I don't have any stake in the game. It's not
Mhm.
something shameful. So that's definitely something I've noticed.
And I think that's key, especially in recognizing. I love the fact that we're talking about therapy more, that we're seeing it more
Hmm.
normalized, but there is still that stigma to say, okay,
Hmm.
still a struggle to cross that threshold and say, I
Yeah.
need some support. And I think we have to continue work to untangle I'm
Mhm.
broken from I need to go and see someone to talk because it's saying, yes,
Yeah.
there may be some struggles that you're dealing with, but, and I'm sure you can relate, oftentimes people don't have someone that they can talk to and just get
Yeah.
their words out without the
Mhm.
conversation being flipped to the other person. It's like, this is your designated time.
Yeah.
It's about you. And a lot of
Mhm.
people don't necessarily have that. So I think it's taking advantage of just being able to have a space that's just really focused on you as a person.
Yeah. Something I've also noticed since the pandemic is this isolation and loneliness among clients and
Mhm.
among people, and this feeling of like, I don't have any close relationships. Because I always ask that in my intake session. I'm like, who are the important relationships in your life? Outside of your partner, outside of your children, outside of your family. And I've noticed that people's social circles have become smaller and people are isolated. And it's like almost like we're still living in COVID.
Mhm.
And so I always tell people, like, what are some ways? And again, you don't have to be an extrovert, but how can you have those people to support you and feel excited for you when you succeed and also support you when you fail and lift you back up? So it's something I notice that comes up a lot for my clients. And I'm like, how can we do a better job of that as
Mhm.
a society?
Yeah, and I think that's perfect in recognizing as therapists, right? We understand how important our role is, but
Hmm.
understanding that our job is to equip our clients to then
Yeah.
go and create healthy relationships,
Yes.
healthy environments for themselves so that we aren't just the crutch for them to say,
Hmm.
I am the only person that you talk to day to day. It's saying, I'm educating you, I'm teaching you, we're working through some things so that you can build trust and safety and branching out and developing healthy relationships for yourself.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tell me for you, for someone who's listening who may be struggling with understanding what it looks like to take care of themselves, for even giving themselves permission to take care of themselves, what is something you would like for them to hear?
It takes one step. It takes one single step. It takes one thing to do. There's a book I read, and I'm sure a lot of folks have read it, Atomic Habits.
Mhm.
And I really like the concepts behind it. And I also love to relate it to self-care and like habit changing, right? Because self-care is a habit. I really truly believe it. We wax and we wane with it, but it is a habit. And how can we build habits? It starts with, there was the example in the book of like putting the shoes by the door to go to the gym to make
Mhm.
it easier and accessible. Like, there's little changes you can do in your life to make self-care easier for yourself. Is it setting that massage appointment every month? Reoccurring, same day, same time? Is it adjusting your client's schedule to fit better your life to do more self-care? If you don't wanna work at 8 o'clock at night, don't do it. Set the
Mhm.
boundaries. That's a form of self-care.
I think that is super important what you just said, that boundaries is a part of self-care. To say a lot of times we have to learn how to say no effectively
Mhm,
and understand that no is a complete sentence, especially when it comes to
mhm.
trying to create time for yourself in order to practice self-care.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And resentment isn't fun, it's not pretty, and it's not gonna lead to long-term growth in the field, and if you don't wanna see a client at 8 o'clock Wednesday night, don't do it. You're not available. That's okay.
Mhm.
And like you said, no is a complete sentence.
I think that's especially important for people who are newer in this field.
Mhm.
This can be newer in any business industry that you're in. It's saying your clients will find you.
Yeah.
The people who are supposed to be connected to you will find you, but you
Mhm.
have to set the tone of, okay,
Yeah.
these are my parameters, these are my boundaries. I had to learn I don't want to see clients on the weekend.
Mhm.
I don't schedule clients on the weekend, right? And saying, yes, there may be a lot of clients out there looking for a weekend therapy.
Yeah.
I'm just not
Yeah.
a therapist, and that's okay. So I think
Yeah.
recognizing that as long as you're taking care of yourself, you will be in a healthy space to receive the clients, the people, the
Mhm.
business that is meant for you.
Yeah. You gotta practice what you preach, as they say.
Absolutely. That can be hard because
Mhm.
helpers are sometimes the worst patients, but practicing what to preach is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tell me for you, takeaways as far as how do people connect with you? Who is your
Mhm.
ideal client? Let us know again what states you practice in.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I am Dr. Lauren Chase with Climbing Hills Counseling. My ideal client is high achieving women, and I help overachieving women overcome burnout and set boundaries so that they can rest without guilt and enjoy the lives that they've created for themselves. You can reach out to me through my website, climbinghillscounseling.com, or reach out to me via email, lauren at climbinghillscounseling.com.
Very good. I'm going to sneak in one more question for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is burnout?
It is the emotional, physical, mental depletion of yourself. When you feel that your cup is completely empty and you have no more to give. That's kind of how I describe burnout is when you feel empty.
What are some and I lied, I'm sorry. I'm gonna ask you a couple more questions really quick because I think you brought this up, and I think this is something that ties into self-care, and I think people hear the word burnout a lot, but they may not have clarity on what that means.
Mhm.
For
Yeah.
you, what do you feel it looks like, some signs that say, "Okay, you're
Mhm.
heading towards burnout?"
Yeah. You're not enjoying the things that you used to. So I kind of describe it as similar to depression of you're not enjoying the things that you used to do. You're not finding joy.
Mm,
You're dreading these things and you're just feeling stuck. I always describe it, the metaphor I like to use is like you're a hamster on a hamster wheel and you just can't get off. It's like you're walking, but you're getting nowhere. There's no destination and you're just exhausted, but you can't turn the wheel off. And I'm the person that comes in and says, hey, let's stop the wheel for a second. Let's get off. Let's look at each other in the eyes and talk about this
mhm.
and figure out you can get back on the wheel, but you don't have to do it 23 hours a day.
That's really good, I think, especially in this conversation about self-care, understanding
Mhm.
that that goes hand in hand with burnout.
Mhm.
If you don't take the time to really work on yourself, pour into yourself, care for yourself, burnout is right around the corner.
Mhm.
I think a lot of times when we're getting close to burnout, I always say your body will stop you if you don't.
Mhm. Your
So
body will tell you,
absolutely.
you're gonna know, and preventing it before it happens, I feel like it's just so important, and people lose that of like, what are my warning signs that I am depleted? That I'm and it's usually clients are coming to me and like, I'm failing at every area of my life. And I'm like, okay, now how can we prevent that next time from happening? What were the warning signs that you noticed that you felt this failure coming on?
I think this is a good note for anyone watching to say if you are identifying with any of these signs and symptoms that Dr. Lauren is sharing, may be an indicator for you to say, okay, I need to take a pause. I need to reach out and
Mhm.
get some support to understand what getting off this hamster wheel looks like for me. I just want to say thank you, Dr. Lauren, for coming and
Thank
stepping into
you.
my office. I think it's really good, like I said, to have someone where this is your zone, this is your specialty,
Mhm.
and you understand what, from personal experience, what this looks like and what moving forward and learning how to implement self care feels like. So, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for stepping into my office. I want to encourage you to pause and assess, like Dr. Lauren said, what brings you joy? What are some things that you feel like you can do to truly be intentional about pouring into yourself? I want to say thank you for stepping into my office, and I will see you next time. Bye.
We're doing the work, we're putting the time, changing one life at a time. This is the This Therapist Has Problems podcast show.